Oh, I just wanted to share, if you guys want to hear it.
Yes,
I
please.
just got done with a guardianship lawsuit. My son, he's 18. He thinks he's 16 because he has special needs. He's pretty autistic. And I my ex filed to be his guardian and I opposed it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a doctor. She's pretty clever. Her parents are pretty devious.
Oh,
And they
great.
called. Yeah. It's not been great. I mean, that's why I say it's like, oh man, I got my ass kicked really just kind of up and down just because I don't have quite the resources she does.
Right.
But basically it worked out to where she got the guardianship. And she called every lawyer. I live in a big city. Seattle is a big city, right? There's like 3 million people around this area. And she called every lawyer's office that does guardianship cases. And so when she filed and I tried to get representation, I couldn't find anybody. And then the people, I found somebody, but he was a complete rookie, gave me shitty advice, and just that's just
Damn.
my lack of discipline and planning, I'd say. But I guess what I want to say about it is that I just had so much evidence about her, manipulating our kids and uh, abusing them really, so
Okay.
that they would say things in her behalf.
Mm.
And I gave this to the court. I gave this to they call it a court visitor. It's really, another lawyer that supposed to do an investigation. But all these people, the court visitors, the public defenders, they're all women just like my ex.
Oh,
They're
wow.
middle aged,
in
upper middle
Seattle, too.
aged. Yeah. Yeah. And my lawyer, he said at the very end of it, he's like, yeah, I didn't want you to feel bad, but it's like this, you gave it a good shot, but it's like there's no making headwinds when you have basically all these women kind of vibing on what they want to see. Like they don't want to see a doctor uh get lose guardianship of her son to her ex, that's not married and I don't know whatever else they didn't like about me, but I don't know if anybody else has to go through that. Boy, I have a lot of advice, as I'm sure you do, Keith.
Yeah, well, like I said, I got pretty lucky compared to, I mean, I would say probably where I work, we're at about a 50% divorce rate in the prison from what I can see with everything. Cause it's just, I mean, I walked my buddy through his divorce and a year later, I was like, hey man, remember when I helped you out? Well, guess what? It's my turn, tag. But, I've heard some fucking horror stories, from some of the people like yourself, things like that, or just manipulation, just terrible. And then using the kids and putting them in the middle, which is just total horseshit there. I mean, that was one thing we were never gonna do. And I'll say a lot of things about her, but I will say that she wouldn't have done that, to put them in the middle like that.
Yeah,
I'll
and
give her
most
that.
people don't think that doctors would do that.
Mm.
They think that she's pretty altruistic. People just make that assumption. It's like, holy crap. And for me to say what's really going on, they look back at me like I'm crazy.
Oh yeah, well it's similar with me. Everybody thinks Anna, is super nice because she has that nice persona, quiet, just everybody thinks she's just the best and everything. And I'm once the veil was lifted, from what was really going on, and I would probably label it emotional abuse is what I was getting from her for a long, long fucking time. But yeah, it once that was lifted, I could see that you were fucking horrible to me. You made me feel worthless for a long time.
Gaslighting.
Everything was your fault all the time. You were demeaning me in front of the kids, in multiple ways and things like that. And I was just kind of taking it, which wasn't showing my boys what they needed to be shown. How a man should react to that. So I had to make up for that. But it's just she's not the person that everybody thinks she might be, and her family, of course, is going to side with her no matter what, which meant that they just didn't communicate with me at all. For me, from my perspective and what I have with me, there's a lot of silence. We don't really talk much at all, if ever. It's usually either about the kids. Mostly it's about the kids, and but I can probably count on one hand in the last several months where she's texted me or anything. And I'll hear something from the kids, but I just make sure that the kids are doing okay, mentally and otherwise and stuff like that. Other than that, and I told them, I said, I said, guys, I really don't care what your mom's up to. I said, I'm sad, sorry to say that, but dad doesn't really give a shit. Dad's moved on with his life and she's done whatever the hell she's gonna do. And I don't care if she regrets it. I don't care if she's in a bad way, or I don't care if she does well in life. I really don't care either way. Go do what you want to do, but just I wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole after the whole fucking told you guys about the whole sex bag thing way back then and stuff. But that alone right there was just like, what the fuck is going on upstairs, in your head with this shit. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't, it just doesn't matter to me anymore. And I think I think I've got one of the best outcomes, I guess, from what I've seen with different guys getting divorced, as far as how it's affected me, the kids, and my relationship now. I try not to talk too much about her. I let her talk about her husband's name was Casey. I let her talk about Casey as much as she wants to because it makes her feel okay. She recognizes that she doesn't want to do too much of that, you know what I mean, with me and stuff, but mostly just reminiscing, I make a certain meal a certain way. Well, Casey used to, fuck that up, or he'd do something okay or whatever, but nothing extensive. But I try not to talk too much about my ex because it's bad. You know what I mean? Rachel's coming from a place of good times and reminiscing in a fond way. Mine would be more of a she sucks and here's why. And nobody wants to hear that shit all the fucking time because it's gonna bring everybody down. And what's the fucking you know?
Yeah. No,
So
you're absolutely right. And you don't want to poison your own heart by focusing on the
yeah,
negative.
that too. Yeah, it brings me down too when I think about it. And I went from a good mood to you guys, kind of thing like that. So
Yeah.
I already work in a place that's negative. I don't need to, expand upon that negativity prematurely.
Mm.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. I have a brother-in-law. My dad, he remarried after my mom died, and one of her kids, he's pretty cool and he hangs out with us. But as soon as he was a big investor in crypto, and as soon as crypto went up, his wife divorced him and cashed out on his
No
crypto
way.
weird,
investments.
weird.
Yeah, and I tried to talk to him. I was like, okay, let me tell you how divorce really works. And he's like, no, I got it. I'm like, well, you sure? Because it's not what everybody says, and your lawyer's not your friend. He's like, no,
No.
no, no. I know this guy. He's gonna do good for me. And I'm like, brother, listen to me. Listen to me. I went through the shit that most guys have never gone through. You got to hear my story. And he's like, no, it's okay. I know you're having a hard time, but it's okay. It'll work out for me. And lo and behold, she cleaned his clock, and they had 4 kids together, and 3 of his kids will not talk to him now.
Jesus.
And
Yeah,
now
I
when
guess
he's go
she's
ahead.
different.
Yeah, she's
Well, no,
different.
no, he just thought that he thought he knew her better than that, and he thought that he could trust his lawyer, and basically he
The
just made
system.
all the mistakes. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he wouldn't listen to me. It's like, oh, fuck's sake, I'm trying to save your life, brother. And he's like, no, no, man, I got it. And he thought that I was being like negative. So I'm like, I guess I need to work on how one of the reasons why I like this group. It's like I want to be able to. Um, I don't want guys to step on the same landmine that I stepped on, and my
Mm.
brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So it's like I got to work on how do I tell the story without pushing people away.
Yeah, can you
Yeah, you
expand on
can.
that? What happened with your guardianship? That's very because since it's so recent, like, and you had so much proof, and yeah, what were like some of the things you saw or had to go through?
Oh, well, the things that she was doing, and she's pretty tricky. So she really ramped up the conflict prior to the hearing.
Mm.
So like she would engage our son in after school activities that he hated. And I knew he hated them. So I would say, this is a bad idea. I don't want to be a part of this. I will move my residential time so that you can, do this thing, but this is not good. And then she just persisted and persisted. And then when I said I wouldn't go along with it, she, took me to court and said, he's getting in the way of my trying to help my son get into this club, but he literally hated.
Yep.
But what's the judge going to do? He's like, well, they're divorced and they're high conflict, and the mom, she's a doctor, she's really wants him to do this thing. She put all this energy into getting him to do it, and the ex just wouldn't go along with it.
Mm.
So he basically wrote up an order saying, you have to let her, put him into these clubs. And it's like,
Yeah.
damn, that was brilliant on her part because it makes me look like an ass.
And
But
nobody talked to the kid about it. Yeah.
nobody talked to him about it because he's autistic.
Oh,
But
okay.
then a month after that case finished, she then relented that, oh yeah, he's not interested in doing this club after all. So I took that to to the court visitor, basically saying, hey, look, she doesn't really have a good handle on what he likes to do and what causes him stress. And there were that's the other thing is there were people who would witness that, but they did not want to talk to like other professionals, like his therapist and his counselor. But
Uh-huh.
they did not want to be on record. So
What?
yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, and that's what I'm talking about. It's like I guess it's me, right? I am not good at getting people to support my cause.
Mm.
So, and what's whacked about it is now that it's over, his counselor sent me a nice email saying that she's very sorry for the outcome and she thinks that I did really well and that my son loves me and blah blah blah. And then his therapist basically said the same thing. So I'm like,
Consolation.
well,
Yeah.
damn it. Yeah. Basically, they didn't want to be involved. They didn't want to be in the middle of it. Um, but they would have supported me, and I
Mm.
relied on that, right? So I put that in my pleadings, saying that, hey,
Yeah.
I have witnesses, and they're like, well, we talked to them, and they don't want to say anything.
Yeah, they're fucking cowards.
They were women too, both of them.
They're women, yeah.
Counsel.
They're
Yeah.
all women. That's the
Yeah.
other part. Is like all this is run by women, and they all, yeah, they don't want to cross each other.
Well,
Women lie.
I was just gonna say, don't forget, no offense, but where you're at is liberal too. On top of
Seattle. Yeah.
the women factor,
No, but that isn't that
Yeah.
insane. So the judge woman, her attorney was a woman also, and then your son's counselor woman, and the other one also woman. So the entire
Public
process of
defender, court
public
visitor, women.
women all went. Wow,
Yep. So only me and my attorney were the men in
men,
the room.
holy hell.
And so when you say negative things like, she doesn't understand his stress, she pushes him into things he doesn't want to do. They're like, she's a doctor. You're just a fucking
Yeah.
ass.
Uh-huh.
And there's,
Wow.
I
Did you feel
can't
like
escape it.
Did you feel like you had any shot during that whole proceeding, being surrounded by
I
women
did,
like
yeah.
that? Really?
Yep. I mean, I thought so. And so I put up a strong defense/offense, I thought. But then they just looked at it like, yeah, you sound aggressive. You
Oh,
sound like you're being
my
mean to this lady, this doctor who's just trying to raise her kids and your son. And
tone
that's
policing. Fucking yeah.
Yep.
yeah. So anyway, after the fact, I mean, it just happened Monday, so I'm still
Reeling
still
from it. Yeah.
yeah. But it's
Damn.
like a death, She basically owns his ass now, and I get whatever crumbs that she wants to give to me. So it's like
Jeez.
a death.
What would you tell other guys then? So, like, what's some of the things you take away that just absolutely shocked you coming away from this little battle for guardianship? Not little, but huge. But like, well, I know guys go in thinking a lot, like your brother-in-law, like you were saying. The whole women
Yeah.
thing is for me super interesting that it's so women dominated. Yes, you're in a liberal area, but still it seems like we always say there's a court bias and typically the state sides with the woman, but Jesus Christ, the state is a woman practically everything. The entire process
That's
up and down is women. Yeah.
yes. Yep.
That to me is
Yep.
nuts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
then
mean,
that video, Bo, that you put out today with the simp father,
Yeah.
the boomer simp father, I was like, it doesn't even have to be just the women. There's just a bunch of simpy men that
Of the
my lawyer
system.
wasn't one of them, but it's like, oh God, we're just we're just kind of fucked.
Mm.
And
How much
sorry
money?
if I'm
How much
cursing so
money?
much. But,
No, you're good. How much money do you think you spent on this? Or what would you give people estimate of like a battle like this cost somebody?
oh, 10 grand.
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fortunate that I have a good job, and 10 grand relative to where I live is not super crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to sum it up right now, what I would tell men, what I want men to believe is that when you get married, you're getting in bed with the state, and the state is against you. In this day and age, the state is against you. You get a woman pregnant, you're automatically the bad guy. She has to basically spew green foam from her mouth before anybody's going to listen to you.
Yeah.
Even then.
And this is just guardianship that you battled. This isn't what happened in the divorce. Yeah. This is a whole
No, I mean
separate thing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually relented during the divorce because she'd out earns me by twice, and it would have been just a bloodfest.
Wow.
So I let her have custody, but I got a decent amount of time. But then, because broken people raise broken kids, she was, doing things to the kids that I didn't agree with. And so we battled over that. And it was really more of a battle of her trying to cover up her brokenness, I'd say.
Do you think if you would have fought more in the divorce proceedings initially, you'd have a better outcome right now, looking back?
Yeah.
Would you recommend men always fight tooth and nail in the divorce proceedings?
So it's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
If you are in a position where you can, right, where you can raise the kids yourself, then yeah, fight like hell. But you have to have that foundation. You can't just be like, well, we're doing things 50-50. And then all of a sudden she's like, hey, you're not doing what I want you to do. And she punches out. If you're not in a position to raise those kids, to literally do it all, then you're best to just minimize your role at all. And that was a hard thing for me to take. And that's why I fought the way I did.
Mm.
But that's literally what's going to save men the most stress, I'd say. Assess your situation. If you can do it, then fight like hell. If you're not in a good spot, then you're going to have to make that tough choice to minimize your role. And it depends on the woman too, right? Because if she is going to, if she is as selfish as a lot of women are, then she's going to, recruit her friends, this is what happened, right? Other doctors and other friends and other people in the community just to make it hard on you. So you gotta choose. Are you gonna, if you can do it all, then fight like hell. If it's gonna be a fight, like if you're not in a good spot, sorry, I'm not phrasing this well. If you're not in a good spot and she's going to be difficult, then it's best just to minimize your role because the state is against you.
Yeah. You guys, do you mind if I put this one on YouTube for guys? Divorce stories?
No, go ahead.
All right.
Fucking more guys know about this stuff, the better. We're, a little diverse too.
What about you?
Well,
Shane?
I did a lot of cursing, Bo. So
yeah, fine, dude. That. Yeah, I could remove the cursing.
I curse more than anybody in the group. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I don't normally. I don't normally curse. Is kind of what you're saying.
My divorce didn't really put me in so much as a bad physical spot, but more of a mental spot because I can't see my kids because she basically took them, and then now she says she's trans.
Yeah, your wife transitioned too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a wild one. Yeah.
You got a good excuse, Charles.
Well, the thing was, she didn't bring anyone to her side. It's just more, she's just batshit crazy, but the court still gave her, because the court said, since I let her leave with my kids, that I said, what?
You cut out. I don't think you're here.
I turned my truck on it, automatically.
There you go.
They were like, well, since you allowed her to leave when you guys separated to leave with your kids, you allowed her to have full custody. So we're giving her full custody. And I said, what? I was like, how does that make sense?
You didn't consent. Yeah, you didn't consent.
Yeah, I didn't consent to her having full custody. I just said, I work 10, 12-hour days. It's probably a little bit easier for us both. And because we were never trying to go down the route of divorce. That's what happened.
So when you say when she left, where did she go? So the state was under the assumption.
She went up to Lancaster, back to where her family's from.
And how far away is that from you distance-wise?
2 hours. And so every weekend, I was taking because I have a car, because she, at the time, both cars were technically hers because she came into the marriage with them. I was like, yeah, fine, whatever, have the cars. I'll figure out different means of transportation or try to find a car or whatever. Because I just wanted a clean break. I didn't want some huge, drawn-out divorce. And so I was literally spending the night at the railroad. Okay.
Yep.
So I would take the train and I would spend the night in LA. And then I would do that every weekend to go see my daughters. And California court's like, yeah, we don't care. We're just going to give her custody, full custody.
and also the fucked up part is like, not only we're giving her full custody, but she can take her daughters to the hospital even though the medical coverage is under you. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Tell her to get her own damn coverage if that's the case. Like, what the fuck? And then and so I was like sandbagged, and it just like I couldn't see my daughters, and it just put me in a real bad mental state because like my mom left when I was a kid, and I didn't want that for my kids, and it just that's what happened. So I was like just it put me off course for a couple of years.
And that was
'Cause I
her
didn't
just
know what to
leaving
do.
the house, right? Like all she had to do was leave your house, go 2 hours north, and then the state just awarded her
Yeah.
rights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the state says I let her leave with my daughters. So the court said I consented to that, to her having full custody. And I said that's exactly not what my mindset was on. Otherwise, I would never let her leave with my daughters. I would just tell her get the fuck out.
Wow.
And I was like,
That's
that's not.
insane.
Yeah, it's completely fucking insane. And so like it wasn't really like the monetary value that broke me. I spent probably like 20 grand or more on my divorce because it took over 3 years. It was more the toll mentally, because I was like, I can't see my daughters. Like, what the fuck? I'm not some abuser. I don't beat kids or anything like that. Like, what the fuck? And then I go back because I got my child support adjusted lower, luckily. And I was like, I'll just fight for custody again. And she's like, well, I'll just I'll just tell them that you're gonna abuse them physically. And I'm like,
God.
and then also this is the same time, like I found out she was trans, which by the way, she's also on welfare and gets like all this shit from the government. So she doesn't work.
Amazing.
And I'm like, you what? And I was like, I don't know if I can do this right now. And I was just like, I don't understand like how this is allowable.
Yeah. It doesn't even make sense. What the fuck is going on?
It doesn't. The only Marine I've ever known personally to get full custody of his kids was because his ex-wife slashed him from wrist to elbow and cut him open.
That's
And
what
she
I
went
was
to jail.
saying. They got to be
That's the
spraying
only
green
reason he got
foam out of their
custody.
face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And I'm like, that's absolutely fucking. I was like, you guys like over here, women are like crying and bitching about like money. But really, if the men are the ones bringing in the money and working, just give them to the men. But then there's this weird thing where the states are set up with the federal government to where the more child support they bring in, the more like financial aid they get from the federal government or something to that effect. I have to do more research on it. And I'm like, what? The child support is for the child, is not for some weird scheme for you to get more money from the federal government. What the fuck is this?
It's
And then,
engineered to destroy families. That's what it is.
yeah, and apparently, maybe this is true or maybe not. I'm still not sure. I got to do more research. From my understanding, the retirement for judges for family court is funded by by the taxes of child support.
Wow.
And I'm like, no, that can't be true because if this is such a fucking Ponzi scheme
I'll look
to
that
break
up right now.
families and to allow judges to just live off that money forever. Like that's not okay. And then the fact like you pay like if you owe child support and they want you to pay, fine. But then you owe like interest on it, like it's some loan. Like I didn't loan you this money. It is not for the government, it is for my kids. Like, what are you talking about? So I pay like 800 something a month. Part of that is back taxes for child support I didn't pay for 2 years because of the fact that I was like, if I can't see my kids, why would I pay for it?
I have to
Like,
read this for you guys.
This
Let me.
BS.
Yeah, you were on the money. This is how crazy it is. I'm going to read this to you. And it says, a judge's retirement benefits can be tied to child support payments. Here's the breakdown. Garnishment of retirement income. A court can issue an order to garnish a person's retirement benefits, including a judge's pension. Let's see. Can be tied to child support. Oh, fuck. He did it the wrong way. Sorry. A judge's child support payments that he owes are tied to his retirement. Of course, we already knew that. Okay, never mind. Keep going. I'll go. Gemini's a bit stupid. Does a judge?
Yeah, the child support laws were nationalized at some point because they were just radically different by state.
Inconsistent.
Well, it was also done during Reagan when they were passing no fault divorce, and people would like herald him as like there's some like huge like god of like the right wing, and I'm like, this guy absolutely destroyed like the fundamentals of America when it comes to family. What are you talking about? Maybe he did one or two great good things, but he otherwise, as a governor of California, fundamentally set up the entire U.S. to screw over the nuclear family.
Well, there's a lot of pressure on the nuclear family right now. It's not just no fault divorce. That's a big one, of course, but just the whole, I would just say the whole system. The whole system is really against the man, and why would any man really freely engage in that? That's kind of where I'm at.
Did you guys note it? I mean, it's pretty hard listening to these stories of these scumbag women that are fucking you over left, right, and center. Like, you had to have seen some red flags during the courtship process that they were capable of this kind of family destroying, lack of character, right? The red flags must have been everywhere.
And I take responsibility because they were absolutely there. But I was on the verge of breaking up with my ex. But I think she knew it too. I mean, why would she not? And then she baby trapped me. So it was almost like a 1 year. We dated 1 year to the date, and I think she was expecting it to go further. And I was like, I'm not really feeling it. And next thing you know, she tells me she's pregnant.
Yeah, same fucking thing happened to my brother. Just to the team.
Yeah.
Oh,
now to tell you how stupid I am. Sorry, Keith. When so I'm pretty devoutly Catholic, and I was like, well, it's not the child's fault. We're gonna make a go of it. I took her to Ireland, got married her in my mom's church, in my mom's hometown in Ireland, and then when things fell apart, like of course they did, because anyway, she baby trapped me on the way out. So that's how I got 2 kids.
Wow.
That tells you how stupid I am.
No, you're not stupid. You just care.
Yeah, and it's not the kid's fault. It's not the kid's fault. And so I love my kids to death. I give them, as much of me as I possibly can.
Yeah, they'll remember that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. But it's just that their lives could have been better. My life could have been better.
Yeah,
I know.
I just, I think we had a talk like this, a couple months ago. It's like, hey, you can't trust. Unfortunately, you can't trust women, even if they say they're on birth control. You just can't trust it. There's just no trusting that.
I looked it up. Judges don't actually make money from child support, by the way, to clarify that for people.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Well, let me just get this out. One thing I did want to say real quick about, oh God, I almost lost my train of thought here. The way, the way people were after the divorce and the separation, because I live in a town that's there's a lot of churches around here. It's cornfields at the top of the country and stuff, and it's small, but everybody was kind of quiet about it, and I just sensed this mood shift, you know what I mean, in town and stuff, talking to people. And what happened with her was she just didn't say anything at all to anybody. I even talked to some of what would be kind of our mutual close friends of the place she worked at, and they would say she hasn't said anything at all to us. So because of that, like we're kind of alluding to, everybody basically said, well, she's so nice, what did he do? You know what I mean? So it took me kind of in my own way over time sort of explain it, in bits and pieces to people, over the course of several months about what was going on, while still trying to say she's a decent person, this, that, and the other and stuff, to the point where they kind of got the whole gist of it. Now, everybody kind of knows what's going on and stuff, but purely by her not saying anything at all or not engaging at all, everybody made that assumption that it was the guy's fault, even though they all knew me, for a couple decades now. So then that was including her family too. They were, because everybody was just like, well, I never would have seen that in a million years, and I was like, yeah, me neither, kind of blindsided me too. But now that's when I started seeing like Paul's channel and a few other channels around there. And there's the one that I like to listen to a lot actually in the morning is that Taylor the Fiend guy. I like listening to his because he just, kind of merges a bunch of clips together and stuff. But it's kind of therapy and kind of an evil whatever the hell you want to call it for me to listen to in the morning, But as far as engagement, the Bowles has been really good. There was one other, but he kind of died out, and I can't remember who the hell it was, but I mostly stick with you guys. But some of the other stuff I listen to and coagulate into God, I can't use the words today. They're hard. Into a single whatever with me is what we're talking about with the women, how they are. In other words, I didn't think that my ex, I thought she was different. I thought she was this, that, and the other. And turns out she's checking a lot of the boxes we're talking about. Yeah, that did happen. Oh, yeah, and that happened too. And yeah, she treated me like shit there. And oh, holy fuck, that was going on too. Now that I look back on it, and because of that, I can now put a picture together with, say, Rachel and say, I'm watching for that stuff, now, and I'm not.
I can tell you one that Rachel did on the cruise that might have slipped right under your nose.
Yeah.
Well, she abused you by threatening to abandon the relationship. That's abuse.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That pissed me off.
And number two, she made it even worse. She doubled down on the abuse by you giving her an excuse. Oh, she's just been out of a marriage for a couple months. Well, nobody put a fucking gun to her head to agree to be in a committed relationship with you. Would you use that excuse against a woman? Of course you wouldn't.
Right.
Yeah,
so you're setting yourself up for round two with this girl, the way you described her.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm really looking into right now is the notion of attachment style. Sorry, go ahead, Keith.
No, I was just going to say the only difference between what I got with her, what I had with the ex, and a few other things was it was a death, not a divorce or whatever and stuff. But I just wish she would have gotten actual help before actually going out and wanting to date again. That's a big thing.
Yeah, and that leads me to my point about attachment styles. And there's people attached to other people in different ways. And the best would be a securely attached person meeting another securely attached person.
Yeah.
Meaning that they don't play these games with each other, right? You're not in fear of the other person hurting you. And that's kind of what happens with, I would say that's what happens when women like hit the wall when they're in their mid 30s and they're like, oh crap. But now they become anxiously attached because they want the man, they want the resources. But they don't necessarily want maybe anything else about him. So if they're anxious attachment, or if they're I'm blanking on what the other styles are, but if she's not securely attached, if she doesn't demonstrate secure attachment, I would say that's just going to be a problem for marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I tell guys that you need to find women that have a level of self-awareness, because it's really rare to get two people that are secure at the same point in time to meet each other. And I think avoidant is the one that you were probably thinking of. Avoidant is a big one in women. Yeah. Actually, avoidant is a big one in almost everybody today. But what self-awareness does is she's already moved to the stage where she understands that there's a problem, actively working to fix it, and actionable every day on fixing it. Not just acknowledging that it exists and then you do nothing, but actionable and making a difference, right? Progress, real progress that can be seen.
Measurable progress.
Exactly. Because here's the realistic thing that's going to happen for a vast majority of people is you're going to meet somebody that's in the process of fixing themselves, assuming you vetted for the self-awareness. So you're going to meet somebody about halfway complete somewhere along in their journey, just like you are. And what happens is, when you hear people say like our love got deeper as our relationship went on and stuff like that, that's what you're describing, them both reaching a secure attachment state with each other by working on that individually. That's a vast majority of relationships will be this. So try not to look for perfection in that sense, where I need to find one that has no issues, and because the vast majority of us have issues, men and women included.
Yeah, that doesn't exist. Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to find, this is why I say self-awareness, because self-awareness beats almost everything, because a self-aware person, man or woman, knows like, hey, don't consume too much social media. It's brain rot. It doesn't help me. It actually gives me more anxiety. It actually makes me feel more secure. It makes me more avoidant, more fearful of everything. Don't consume slop in terms of like even music, TV and movie, right? The people I choose to hang around with, you are the average of your 5 friends. That applies especially to women, just because of the way they are with one another, the way they interact socially. So somebody with self-awareness is already filtering their lives for this, and you can spot it in them. Do they like to drink alcohol when they go out? Do they need alcohol? Do they smoke cigarettes, stuff like that? Or do they have vices already that they're coping with to deal with whatever it is, the attachment, anxiety that they might have? So, for me personally, my woman doesn't smoke, right? Doesn't drink, which I don't smoke. I don't drink. That makes it very easy. Doesn't have a need to go have attention, go out party, be the life of the party, the center of attention, go out clubbing, do all this shit, right? It doesn't jive with my lifestyle either because I don't care for any of that stuff. So, and of course, neither of us are perfect. So we're working our way to, what you could say, up as perfect as you can be. But the self-awareness was there, which is a key component. It's really hard. You can meet someone that's really great, but if you're watching them make the same mistakes over and over again, and then you try to explain to them why they're doing what they're doing, it's like, hey, I can see that, that one story about your mother or your father, and like, this is you acting out the childhood trauma, but you're not fixing it day in and day out. I've talked to you about this already. And then here it goes again. It's coming up, and they're like, oh yeah, we talked about it last time. I thought I fixed that already. Because all you did was talk about it and like acknowledged it. But that's barely scratching the surface. You need to meet somebody that is actually introspective enough to look at their life and be like, oh shit, I did something because like my childhood, I'm so sorry, and can actually apologize. Right. And then when you say like women apologizing, it's a fucking meme in the West. But when you meet a self-aware person that has that kind of maturity and introspection, they actually do apologize and they go, you know what, I fucked up back there 10 minutes ago. That wasn't me. I'm sorry. That's gold to meet somebody like that. Yeah.
And they'll thank you for you pointing it out to them, for helping them to be a more virtuous person.
Exactly.
Unless they are worried about the power dynamic, right? And so then they want to conceal their flaws and not tell you.
Yeah, that's a narcissist. That's a narcissist.
Yeah,
but I think that's why women don't apologize, right? They don't want to apologize because it makes them feel like they're below you now.
Well, I would say they don't apologize. Not only it's narcissism, right? Of course, but also that's damage, that's trauma. They were raised in, you could say one example would be a princess household where the father never corrects her, never had any boundaries. That's one major way that we deal with it.
There's a flaw to that point, which is there are people that are raised in damaged households as kids, and they use their free will to choose not to repeat that mistake.
Exactly.
This argument about self-awareness, which you're not wrong, but then let's apply it to this girl, Rachel. Do we really think that this woman is not aware of how manipulative she's being to him? Maybe I'm getting into semantics and I'm not trying to nitpick the word choice, but I think she's very aware of what she's doing to Keith. And I think it's a demonstration of there are corrupt people and there are virtuous people. And once we become adults, we have free will. And
that's good. That's a good point you made on, I'm not saying specifically, look, a good household leads to a good outcome in a person. I think, this kind of self-awareness is somewhat built in genetically speaking. I think it's just on an individual basis. People have it, some don't. Just like half of the population doesn't have an internal monologue.
That actually is true. Is true. There's been studies that show that like over 50% of the population, I think it's up to 70, don't even have an inner dialogue.
Yeah. So
with themselves.
Exactly.
They're
I believe
literally going
self-awareness.
from one dopamine stimulation or power dynamic to the next, and they can't actually introspect.
Yeah. So I think you need to, when I mean vetting your woman, I mean, you have to look out for those moments of deep abstract thinking where they can explain away behavior. Like you can question your woman and say, hey, tell me about your childhood and, growing up and kind of, how was life with family? How was your relationship with your mother and your father? And if you're close enough to your woman, which we're going to assume you're at that point already, they'll share some very personal stories, and an introspective person will be able to tell you like, hey, and then this led to damage here. This is how I kind of acted out in life this way. Or, some of the most beautiful people I've ever met, by the way, this, like I said, a good upbringing doesn't necessarily dictate that this will be true, that you will have good self-awareness. The best people I've ever met actually have all one thing in common is they came from the worst fucking upbringings ever. and they had the mentality you described of, I will never repeat what my mother did to me. I'll never repeat what my father did to me. I'll never repeat the household I had to grow up in, and like make a vow that to never be that, even to their own detriment sometimes. Like, these are the people that get hurt in the dating pool, abused, cheated on, and they stay, because I don't want to be in a broken household like I grew up in and stuff like that. Finding that in a woman is very hard, guys.
Preach, bro. That
Yeah.
was really good, Bo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things about Rachel, as far as that stuff goes, man, I kind of agree with what you're saying and stuff. I'm way less naive than I was with fucking Anna, before and stuff. That lesson learned there. Like, I'm at the point now where before the cruise I was kind of all in, and now I'm kind of like, let's see how it goes. But I'm ready to say, all right, I'm gonna come pick up my tools and stuff at your house, and we'll just whatever. I don't do the friend thing afterwards either. I've never done that. When we're done, we're done. That's it. But she recognized, for example, the smoking. Like, she's trying to patch now. She tried a few other things. She's quit before, but then when her husband died, to start up again. But she's actively trying to quit again, and she's actually doing pretty good. She's down from fucking quite a few cigarettes to like maybe 2 a day, using the patch and stuff like that. And then the drinking, she hasn't really had much to drink since the cruise, really.
Yeah, but
Um,
she threatens to leave
yeah,
you, dude. You don't
yeah,
deserve to be treated
that's a
like
big
that.
one right there. And it's gonna be, and like you said, it's gonna be hard for me to get past that now, because you've kind of you popped the cork on that. Now I'm kind of walking on eggshells, thinking, in a way, thinking, well, when's the other fucking foot gonna drop, or whatever, however you
Mm-hmm.
want to term it. You know what I mean? So no, I'm with you on that. And that's always gonna be in the back of my head, and that's why I'm like, not giving up, my base here and everything else and stuff like that. I'm just kind of taking a step back a little bit and almost like starting over in a way, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm also, yeah, that's there, and you can't deny the damage was done when that happened. The trust, has been shattered a bit.
Yeah,
You
what
know.
you deserve, like, to advocate for you guys, because you guys kind of struggle advocating for yourselves. You've admitted to it. What you
Mhm.
deserve is, ideally, we should try to live. We should try to strive and live by our ideals. It's great. It's great to aim for perfection and land in excellence, right?
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
what we all would want to strive for would be a woman that would do the opposite of what Rachel did, which would fight to stay in the relationship and not come up with drama, right?
Hmm.
Like we need more stress or fucking drama in this world nowadays,
Yeah,
right?
I don't.
How about a woman that brings peace, security, and affirmation to you, that she ain't going anywhere, even if you guys end up under a bridge, she'll never leave your side.
Yeah, and that was why it was so strange, because I thought, that was us, for example and stuff. And I don't know, I don't want to portray her as just how should I put this? Somebody that's just wishy-washy, because she's not, but she wasn't ready to date. She just wasn't, even the friend that hooked us up, which is a friend of mine that I work with, Jesse. She's the one that hooked us up afterwards. And I asked her, Jesse, I said, holy fuck, it's only been 9 months. Is she ready? And she's like, she says she's ready. And even Jess is like, kind of like, I kind of wish I wouldn't have introduced you guys, but here we are, with strong feelings and stuff both ways and all that stuff that's going
Do you know?
on.
Do
But
you know? Do you know the standardized equation for being ready after a long breakup? What the timeline is? So it's half of the length of the relationship is typically how long afterwards. If you were married to somebody for 10 years, it typically takes 5 years to get emotionally over it.
okay, well, I'm not waiting 13 years for mine. I'm over it now.
Yeah, that sounds a bit random.
That's, that's why I said like standardize in general. There's exceptions.
A lot of wiggle room there. Yeah.
It took 13 months. Like, how about that? How's that sound?
But think if you really were in love with somebody for 10 years of your life and they died, they got killed in a car accident, like, oh, you're going to be ready to hop on a new man in a year?
Which is what I think is her perspective when her husband died is different than mine, who
Yeah.
just didn't love anymore. And I want to tell her that. How would you feel if somebody that you had loved most of your adult life all of a sudden finally turns around, and you kind of see it coming, but at the same time you want to push it away, but says, I don't love you anymore. You're horrible. You're this, you're that. I mean, to me, and I wouldn't tell her this, of course, but to me, that's worse than a death. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
you still have fond memories of this other person instead of abandonment. You know, which is
Yeah, she
what
probably is dealing with some guilt. There's some like internal guilt though
she
there.
is. I think actually exactly that, Bo. That's what some people were talking about. They're like she might feel guilt about the husband, about you know what I mean, just what you're
Yeah.
getting at, and that's it's complex. And I understand what who am I talking to again with the
Nah,
little you?
nah. Excuses
Kerrigan.
are lies.
I
All
can't
these
see you.
excuses.
Oh,
Nah,
Kerrigan.
Kerrigan's a bit hardcore on that, but there is real guilt here at play, especially like you would imagine as a man, if your partner passed through a tragic accident, and men are loyal, some of them will stay single forever. You got old men that are like, my wife passed away through a tragic accident, I haven't been with anybody
Right.
since. Like you hear people doing this stuff, and it's
I
true
know a guy
because
just like that.
yep. And this happens because whenever you're hanging out with somebody else and you feel a euphoric high and it feels good, you're randomly taken back to thinking about what your life could have been with your partner had they not lost their lives. And then the guilt, you can't even enjoy the moment with the new person you have because the guilt of like, what would they have thought if seeing me do this right now? And I wish they were here. And they start to blame themselves like, is this my fault? And la la la. It's very complex. It's not just like, oh yeah, it's just a lie. Fuck that. She's a bitch. Blah. It's not that simple. Never that simple.